Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to whack my leg on this table.
Okay. Amber and DJ are joining us on today. Amber, you want to start us with their updates?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes, very well.
Just double checking. All right. The COVID stats are, we have 142, confirmed cases. That's up 2 cases from last week. And the Suffolk County 7-day rolling average is 3.3% for the positivity rate. That's down 2% from a week ago. So we continue to trend in a good direction.
Okay. And the mask mandates have been lifted. It's more, if you want to do it, do it. And individual businesses can do it if they want to do it. How about the Fit Center and all that stuff, Amber?
The Fit Center, if you are, fully vaccinated, which means, you're at the right stage for having had a booster, you can go into the Fit Center without a mask. If you are unvaccinated, you're still required to wear a mask. And then our senior programs, they're still requiring masks, except for when they're eating meals.
But they're all back in place.
Yes.
Okay. And just so everyone knows, we do have test kits available at the town hall and at the library. You're welcome to come up and take whatever you need. Those are from the county. Okay. Next on the list is the transfer of development rights legislation. This is something Bob's been working on for us to try to get it in place. This is a procedure that we've have had the ability to do since 2006, but for whatever reason, the town chose not to do it. So we're putting this in place. This is the legislation so that if we buy open space, we can take those development rights and use them somewhere else if we find a suitable place for housing where we need to increase the density. So Stephen, you want to give us a...
Yeah, I'll give you a background on TDRs and then what we have to do to adopt such a local law. So a TDR stands for the transfer of a development right. But what is a development right? It's when you own property, you own a bundle of rights. Envision, holding a bundle of sticks. You learn this in law school. This is law school 101. Each stick reflects a right. So, for example, you have the right to sell the property. You have the right to clear trees. You have the right to keep people off the property. You have a right to use the property in ways that conform with zoning. You're allowed to build structures that conform with zoning. And you have the right to discharge wastewater onto that property. So the transfer of a development right is buying one of those sticks, or 2 or 3 from that property. And it forever extinguishes that right from that property. And then you can use that right on another parcel. The property that the right is sold from is called the sending parcel. And the property that the right is being used on is the receiving parcel. Now, where does that right go once it's purchased? The town can create a bank. And such a bank is authorized in Town Law Section 64E in Chapter 50 of the Town Code. The bank is where the right that is stripped from the sending parcel resides until purchased for use on a receiving parcel. It's my understanding that the board wants to set up a TDR program for wastewater rights. So, for example, if a sanitary development right is purchased from a sending parcel, that parcel can no longer accommodate waste. And that right can be purchased for use on another property, a receiving parcel for the use of that right. So in essence, that property would be allowed to accommodate more waste than that's generally allowed pursuant to the Department of Health regulations, the receiving one. Pursuant to New York State Town Law Section 261A, the town is empowered to set up such a TDR program. So we're authorized to do it. However, there's a condition precedent before you can do it. The town has to prepare what's called a generic environmental impact statement. It's a study that provides a means for the town to systematically consider significant adverse environmental impacts, alternatives, and mitigation, and weigh social, economic, and environmental factors early in the planning and decision-making process. As you guys are undoubtedly aware, you've heard secret before. So for the most part, when the town takes actions, you have to do a secret review. Some actions, though, don't require what's called that environmental impacts. Some, you do an EAF, it's neg decked, you don't have to do anything, it stops there. But here, the legislation made the determination for us, you have to do this generic EIS. So the difference between a generic EIS and a plain vanilla EIS is that a plain vanilla EIS really pertains to one project, one specific project that's small in nature. The generic EIS is island-wide. Further pursuant to 261A, we have to prepare a map of sending and receiving districts. Now, that could be broad, and it could be,
This is to get the legislation in place. We have to do that.
this is a condition
Right.
proceeding. We have to do all this before we even get to that point. And the GIS determines and weighs the impacts of the program on those districts. Because obviously, there's impacts when you transfer a development right from a parcel, but there's also impacts when you increase the amount of rights that a receiving parcel has. So
How do we write it if we don't know what the parcels are yet?
Well, I'm going to get to it segued right into my next point. We have to hire a consultant to prepare the draft GEIS. The general process is that once a consultant is retained, they will prepare a TDR program planning report. That report will commence the scoping process. Scoping is basically, as the word says, you determine the scope of it, of what you're looking at, what you're studying, getting rid of ancillary stuff and really focusing the study. Scoping takes at a minimum 60 days. Then the DGIS is prepared. That's the draft generic environmental impact study. Then there'll be 45 days to determine completeness. Then another 60 days for public review and comment. During that period of time, a public hearing can be had, not mandatory, but can be had. Then once the EIS is deemed final, then there is a 10-day period before the board can formally adopt that EIS. Once that's done, then we can, talk about a local law, set a public hearing for that local law, and, adopt that program.
This is going to take well into the end of the year.
So 7 months estimated.
Well, you have 60, 45, 60, 10 plus. So you have
I was trying to
120,
track.
165, 175. That's a half a year right there at 180. Minimum.
Then we have to do the.
So you're
then We
right.
have to do the hearing.
So so it's 175 plus. So you're looking at probably a November timeframe. So somewhere around there. What is the school gonna,
So,
is the school gonna be able to?
no,
this
this,
is
no,
just
this
for
is, this
TDR.
this is just for TDR. This
Okay,
is- this is-
all right,
This
okay.
is
So,
different.
let me ask you this. If it's gonna, let's say it's gonna take us a year to get this started, maybe just short of a year. If we have any purchases in the works, can we put wording in that says if the town, enacts a DVR plan, we can,
I don't know if we could retroactively do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's, we can, if we get a consultant immediately, we could start this going quickly. I think, the town's already been looking into this program. Other municipalities have it. So I think from what I'm hearing, there's public support for it.
so who is the consultant of, like what?
We can, it's like a Nelson Pope Voorhees, it's, something of that ilk.
Right,
And again, they will, other municipalities that have more infrastructure have planning
and
departments.
do we have to put out an RFP for that, or can we just
Yes.
solicit?
But yeah, there's no way around it. It's crystal
Right.
clear in town law 261A that we have
Okay,
to do this.
Probably why it hasn't happened.
What?
That's probably why it hasn't happened yet.
Oh, I mean, other towns have it.
Yep.
It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's doable. You just
Oh, yeah.
have to get started.
Correct.
So the next step is to write the RFP.
Correct.
You'll draft that? Even you'll draft that?
Yeah, I could work probably with the engineer and figure out, and also I'll work with Reed and
Mhm.
So maybe a brief 1 minute to the public on why we're doing this, so just for an explanation, because people are listening in on this and they want to know, why are you going to this great length? to
So
do this?
before you jump in, just.
No, I'm gonna defer.
No,
to the
well,
board on that.
I'll give you my understanding. and then you correct us. Okay, so let's say the CPF buys a piece of property.
Yes,
You're gonna say, well, the property is preserved. We have the development rights. It's no problem. We're protecting that property, which is true. But we want to, at the same time, be able to, in the future, have the ability to put some affordable housing in somewhere.
Right.
Where we're gonna need development rights. And as an example, if we have a 10-acre parcel that we buy to secure with CPF money, and we have a 1-acre parcel where we can put housing, rather than take the town zoning and just put one house and one accessory apartment, we'd possibly like to put 4 houses there. We need the development rights from that 10-acre parcel, moving it over to the 1-acre parcel.
So you would need the wastewater, right?
Yes, right.
And then we have a floating zone option in our code to plot the affordable housing floating zone to resolve the zoning limitations on the number of dwellings and things like that.
Right.
But the big thing is to satiate the Department of Health, you're gonna necessarily have to transfer the septic right from
Right.
open space to that receiving parcel.
Okay, so this is for future
Yes.
purchases.
Right,
All right, so I just want,
right.
people
No, it's
listen
for
to they
future
they
purchase.
get
Yeah.
bits and pieces of it. So it's for future purposes. So we're
Right.
not talking about properties that we now own.
Right, and then section 50-3 of our CPF section does reference the fact that the purposes of this fund shall be exclusively to establish a bank pursuant to a transfer of development rights program consistent with 261A at the sole discretion of the town board. So it's already been contemplated in our CPF section.
Okay. All right, so we have a roadmap to follow.
I see Michael Shotkin from the Housing Board. Mike, do you want to say something?
You're on mute,
You're on
Michael.
mute, Mike.
Sorry about that. I have heard in the past that we have 8 TDRs in existence. Does this report by the town attorney now call that into question? Or do we in fact have 8 existing TDRs?
Yeah, Michael, the 8 that we have are from county parcels. When we buy, a lot of the properties that we buy are joint with the county. And at one of our meetings with the county health department, they said we have 8 credits, on their file. So we do have some to start. They're not the towns, but and I don't really know what that means, 8 credits. I don't know what a credit actually encompasses. So it's something we have to look into and find out, what those 8 credits are worth to us, how we can use them. But yeah, that's what we have.
The other
Amber?
component of this that I just wanted to kind of roll into it is that the big picture regarding this is the purpose in doing this, obviously, is to build community housing. And in doing so, the county health department takes the position that you can put 1 dwelling unit onto a site or 1 with an accessory dwelling unit. In order to change that, they have 3 components that are required to make the change. And I'm quoting something called Memorandum 27, which deals with variances that the county health department issues. And they have 3 items for consideration of their professional staff in issuing a variance. One is the TDRs, which we're talking about today. The other one is zoning, and I think it was mentioned in the report briefly that in terms of zoning, that our zoning for the most part is not something that would support community housing, and we would use a floating zone in order to accomplish the density that we're seeking with the TDRs. That would be a consideration for approval. That's component number 2. And the third component would be, and help me out here, but there is a third component for those. Give me one moment. So we have the TDRs, we have zoning, and the last one is water. And they are looking, the Suffolk County Health Department is looking for a public water supply in order under Memorandum 27 to issue a variance. And in view of the amount of time that we're now looking forward in terms of getting squared away with the TDRs, I'd like to also introduce the topic of public water. Now, what does that really mean? It doesn't mean that we're going to pipe our water from someplace else. It just means that we have to have an entity that has oversight over 5 water connections. And my purpose in introducing this now is that we don't look at another 6-month delay in the process, and we begin to think not only about TDRs, but we also think about how do we create water districts that float with community housing zones, so that we will in fact get the increase in density that the TDRs provide. It's only 1/3. The TDRs are only 1/3 of the issue. And
I'd like to get this, Michael, I'd like to interrupt, and I'd like to be able to put this on an agenda for another meeting, because today's was just the TDRs, and I agree we need to focus and get all 3 parts moving simultaneously. But I don't think, it'd be better if we're prepared to talk about such an extensive topic.
I would say all I am looking for is the attention of the board to put this up as a priority, and to understand in this conversation that the TDRs represent 1/3 of the issue. And granted, the other third, which is the floating housing zone, is somewhat within our control. And I don't see that as being as challenging. But the discussion regarding water potentially is equally challenging. And I'm only looking to bring it to your attention and to put it on the top of the agenda.
No, I appreciate that, Michael. And I think the feeling among the town board is unless we have the development rights, the transfer of development rights in place, there's no point in talking about anything else. So we're going to start that process. And we also, continuing to look at zoning issues, and we'll get together with the health department and figure out the water part of it also. But
I don't mean to belabor the point, but I wanted to
getting the
say that
legislation in place is the priority right now.
if we don't do
Amber?
these things, long lead items concurrently, it's going to take a really, really long time to get to community housing. We have to start doing items like this concurrently, especially items that have 6 months, 8-month lead times.
So Michael, I would just like to say, Michael, that I appreciate what you're bringing to the table here, and you should bring that as well to the Water Advisory Committee. I'm sure to the WQI as well, but maybe initially to our committee.
Okay, I will do that.
Let's get back to the procedure that I've been trying to put in place. Amber?
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought the town board got first dibs. Jerry, when you and I had lunch with Fred Thiel months ago, didn't he mention something that was before this, state legislature with respect to TDRs and possibly allowing going back and recapturing those. I can't remember the particulars, but
Yeah, I think it's
Stephen,
going to be on the ballot in November. Remember.
yeah, Stephen, if you could circle back on that, since it was a legislative
Yeah.
and legal
That-
issue. I just wanted to
Sure.
toss that out there so that we might be able to claw back some of the older ones. But we want to make sure in this interim period that we write our new contracts such that we have that capability if it's allowed in the
Right.
future.
Yeah, and all we'd have to say is, if and when it's allowed. Right. Okay. Anything else on TDOs?
No, I just wanted to address their concerns about us concurrently looking at all the elements for affordable housing. That can be also part of the scope of the environmental consultant that we're hiring, or the planning consultant, to help us out with this program. They're going to bring in what other areas we have to work on, so we can make that part of
Good. Okay.
You want to mention budget increases?
Okay, all right, thank you very much, Stephen. We'll keep moving on that. Okay, next on the agenda is the procedure for joint committee meetings. This has come up in conversation. We're starting to have some meetings with various committees, and sometimes together, sometimes individual. And Meg wanted to speak to this one.
Yeah, I just want to start trying to put together sort of a policy on how committees should communicate with each other. And, if they do want to get together to discuss a topic from each committee's specific point of view, kind of streamline the process to make sure that it's done in such a way that it complies with all of the new open meeting laws and everything else. So I just wanted to let everybody know that I'm going to try to, start putting together some kind of flow sheet or kind of procedure for how committees can meet together to discuss topics, and then, move on from there.
Okay, so that's a work in progress.
Yeah, it's a work in progress.
Okay. Okay, next on the list, Dorothy got an application for an outdoor assembly permit for an event at the Ram's Head Inn. Basically what it is, it's a traditional Indian wedding that is going to involve a procession, sort of like a parade with the bridegroom and his family, starting at Little Ram Island and going to the causeway to the Ram's Head Inn. They wanted to know if it was possible to close the road. In talking with the chief, he didn't feel there was a need to close the whole road. We can possibly close half the road. Chief, do you want to speak to it?
I would rather not. I'd rather have them present what they'd like to do, and then we would further review it.
Is anybody here from the application? We told them it was going to be on the agenda this week.
Yeah, just for it's late August, so it's August 26th. It's a morning event from 9 to 10:30 in the morning. And it's 50 to 60 people that would be part of this procession. I don't see closing the entire road, both lanes down for that length of time in late August. Might get away with that in March, but not in August. So I think somewhere along the line, regardless of what they said, you can close one lane down, have walkie-talkies at opposite ends of the spectrum just to control traffic. Maybe streamline this thing a little bit further so it's less of an imposition on the people that live there, going to and from their homes and going to various places at that hour of the morning. So.
Jim, is this
I'd like-
something we can table to next week and have them present?
Well, I think.
Well, there is,
Rajan
I think he's here and he wants to speak. But
Okay.
also, I want to throw in the possibility, what about walking along the beach? Right up. But anyway, go ahead.
Let's hear the presentation.
Yes, so hi, this is Rajan, and I'm actually bride's dad, and I'm here, and I can, I can share answer any questions that you have. But I think what is in that memo, it really describes what we are asking for. So it's the option which Karina had laid out was that either to close half the road for that period of like hour and a half as that procession, like in our Indian culture, I'm sure many of you know, it's called Bharat, that the groom's party, basically they come in the form of a procession with the groom on a horse, and it's a joyous occasion. They kind of like dance and stuff like that as they make their way to the wedding venue, which is at a Ramsat Island. So obviously there is a dance and a music. We do understand that it is disruptive to some extent, but means that's why we wanted to bring to you and see if I can answer any question here and address any concerns.
Thank you. Chief?
From the police perspective, one is that it's, if we would, I definitely would be in complete opposition of closing the road completely. I do think that we could provide police services that could keep one lane of traffic open and freely move people from east and west on the causeway during this hour and a half. I would basically give a recommendation that the applicant should submit $2,000 to the town of Shelter Island to cover police costs. We would do an itemized breakdown of those actual costs and return any monies that were unexpended. I just wanted to have a little bit better feel of the actual procession, that to ensure that it can stay in one lane of travel, and that it wouldn't be disruptive to that other lane. I have some light concern regarding the horse, that vehicles passing by and with the music that horse, again, is not going to, go into another lane of travel and those kinds of things. So maybe the applicant can just speak to that a little bit. I'm sure there's some training involved for that.
Yeah, so, all very good points, Chief. So these horses, they are kind of like trained for these type of processions. So because it's very common Indian culture, every single wedding has that. So these are the trained horses. So they do not kind of like, they're controlled by somebody who manages that horse as well. And they are not the one who kind of like get distracted by the oncoming traffic and other things, that loud noise that may be there, and etc. So I wouldn't be concerned at all for that part. And I think that managing and keeping it to the one lane is very much possible. As I said, it's a small party, like it's like a 50, 60 people is what we are talking about. And maintaining it within a lane and staying within the lane is, I don't think that is a concern at all.
Rajan, how you're going to have 50 people and a horse, and they're starting at the causeway. How are they getting there?
Yes, so means there is just some bookings that the groom's party is making, where they will have their guests staying a night before, because I think it was a little too early for people to get there in the morning. But there may be some who may be kind of like nearby who may be able to come, but there will be and then they will be shuttled from that place to this assembly place.
Okay, that was my concern, that we weren't going to have 30 cars, at the end of the causeway and everybody gets out and starts walking. Okay.
No, we will make sure. Yeah, that's not the case.
And does it end? Are you going to sort of cut over to the Ram's Head property at the end of the causeway and go up the lawn and then get off the road before the hill?
Yes. So the plan is at the beach, that the Ram's Head has a small private beach, right? So that's where we plan to have the ceremony on the beach. So it will stop at the beach and not go up the hill.
Amber?
I have a question concerning the horse. Having been around enough of them, the cleanup of the road from the horse processing up the street. Do you have something in place for that?
Yeah, I know Karina had briefly mentioned that in her request. Yeah, so but we'll make sure that the cleanup afterwards is done. I don't have a specific details around it, but we'll make sure that it's taken care of.
Thank you.
Just a couple of comments. Number one, an assembly area before the event starts. So both on the south side, the north side of the road, close to the west end of the causeway, on the first causeway, there are pull-offs. So Jared, and Jim, something we might want to think about because it's just not going to start all at once. So I think if you utilize either one of those pull-offs as a starting point, as an assembly area, that might be a good thing. And then you could close the road down. Second point is, as the procession moves from west to east, it gets a shorter distance. The walkie-talkie and the police car can literally move behind the procession as it moves further east, thereby cutting down the amount of time that it takes for that one lane to move back and forth. So that's kind of important to know. My third question is, just as, of course, it hasn't been done probably ever, and it's something new that culturally might stimulate people to want to go witness us or see it. Is that something we're encouraging, discouraging? And if we are encouraging it, people want to go see this and just witness it, is there a place that they park? I just can see that it's just something to think about. If you end up with 50 people that want to come up and with their cameras and take pictures and see something that culturally they've never witnessed before, is there any thought of accommodation for that? So just throw that out there.
Okay, I think the biggest concern, just, initially when you hear about this is, we're closing the road for a private function. And I feel very comfortable if the chief feels, it's doable, then,
Yes, Supervisor, I'm looking at the time of day, it's a Friday morning, 9 to 10:30. Probably not a lot of traffic. We definitely don't want to restrict the residents of Ram Island from going to and from their property. But it is because of the time of day and we keep one lane open. I think it's doable. I think we can address Councilman Colligan's concerns that he pointed out. With having those people that want to see it park up at the Ram's Head, probably. There's not parking along the causeway, and there is some staging for it in that cutout that you suggested, Jim, in the beginning. So,
but can I ask? But it's not that it's expected to announce to the. I know that Karina said that they will inform the people that there may be. Okay, this event may be happening just so that they are aware and not surprised, but we're not informing or saying, okay, if somebody wants to witness that they can come in. I'm sure it will draw some attention for the people who are passing by because of the nature of the procession and this music and dance and all that type of things. But I'm assuming that it's not that township is suggesting for the people to go and see, okay, Indian culture and how the weddings are performed. I know it's probably not a very common thing at a shelter island.
Just telling you, the human nature is what it is, that you will get some spectators that want to witness it.
Of course.
Something, and I think the idea of parking up at the Ram's Head on the east side of it, they want to walk back, that's great. I think also with the walkie-talkies, you've got to reduce the speed going down the causeway to, say 15 miles an hour or 20 miles an hour or something, just in case, because you do have a procession coming the opposite way. I don't know what the normal speed limit on the causeway is, probably 35 miles an hour, Jim. That might be a little too fast as the procession's coming through there. So I just, somehow if we can, slow the traffic down a little bit as they move through there, May take a minute longer to get from one end to the other, but safety will be the most important thing here. That's pretty much it.
Okay.
Does anybody does anybody have an opportunity to speak?
Wait, we're gonna hold the comments till the end. I kind of jumped the procedure before with the previous agenda item. We're gonna hold public comments till the end unless the town board, asks someone to speak. So we'll hear from the public at the end of the meeting on this one. I see there's a few hands raised that would like to discuss it. Okay, next item on the agenda is parking at the Historical Society. This is a letter we get annually, just making sure that the town board is in sync with the Historical Society. For the past 12 years, the Historical Society has been granted use of the adjacent town lot for guest parking for our major events, and we are hopeful that this allowance will be approved for 2022. Farmers Market opens the season and runs from Saturday, May 28th through Saturday, September 3rd. It is possible that vendors will request a continuation from Labor Day weekend or September 3rd. Farmers Market runs from 9 to 12:30 only on Saturdays. This weekly event has a major social event on the island, as well as provide an opportunity to purchase a variety of fresh produce, fish, meats, cheeses, and locally made products. On average, and this surprised me, 700 people visit the market over the course of 3 hours. Additional parking is needed and greatly appreciated. Additional events that may require off-site parking include a musical play in July, a children's theater in July, the 100th anniversary celebration in August, and then in Christmas, there's the holiday reception and the Santa's workshop. So I just thought, do we need to do this by resolution or?
Yes, we do. I have it all ready for you.
Okay, all right. So unless there's any concerns about this is kind of a rubber stamp that we do every year.
Yes. I was going to say, as long as we just keep it to, 1 year increments, because
Right.
we're always
Right,
holding,
yes.
holding that open for, other town uses such as community
Correct.
housing.
Right. No
Okay.
problem.
Wonderful events, by the way. So, I mean, if that farmer's market is very
Well attended.
well
obviously.
attended, is
Yeah.
very well.
Okay. Okay, good. Okay, the next one, business on town property. This is something we kind of discuss each year as we get applications, but we really need to put some legislation in place. Again, Bob has been working on a local law to regulate transient businesses. Specifically, what we're talking about today is the permits that the town gives for businesses down at Crescent Beach. Unofficially, we've always allowed 4 businesses. Applicants come to us, they make their presentation, they show that they have the correct insurance, they give a layout of what they're going to do. What's happening now is, we have 4 businesses down at Crescent Beach. The food truck we had some issues with last year. The initial year for the food truck was in the middle of COVID, and we felt as long as they weren't competing with the brick and mortar, they were fine there. Then last year, Sunset Beach reopened, and we felt that it wasn't right for them to be right in front of Sunset Beach. This year, the food truck and from the Islander and Sunset Beach have come to an agreement that they were gonna, go back to where they were the first year. So as long as the brick and mortar is okay with that, it's okay that we do that. But now the question that's coming up before us is, what do we do if we get multiple applications for either for the same type of business or for more than we want there? So just as the example is, the launches that take people from their boats to the beach to get to Sunset Beach or restaurant, we have 3 applicants this year. So is it first come, first serve? Do we do an RFP? So that's the question. Stephen and I kind of had a little talk about it. Stephen, legally, what are our options?
Again, we do have a provision currently in the code, 3614.2, that allows you, the town board, to enter into an agreement with such businesses. So I see here that, and this is the first I'm seeing it, that Bob was looking to draft a more all-encompassing type local law to not only deal with those type of businesses, but also like homeowner farm stands, yard sales, and other things like that. So you got to just, again, you have the authority to proceed, and I would recommend if there are numerous entities that want to, have their businesses on town property, that you do, and they're similar in nature, that you do RFPs for that.
So here's my question. Like, let's say we get somebody RFPs a ridiculous amount of money to be there. We don't really want them there. It's not the type of business that we're looking to, promote. Are we obligated because we put the RFP into?
Well, we
Accepted.
know generally speaking, there's 4 different types of businesses, right?
Right, correct.
So you put RFPs out for those types of businesses.
Yes,
And then you don't, when you're going through the RFP, you don't have to use the one that gives you the most money for that spot. You can look at the overall application and the totality of the circumstances to see their experience, to see, their reviews and all that stuff. So I think the cleanest way, if there are numerous businesses that are interested in that location, that you do an RFP, absolutely.
yeah.
Now, okay, so that kind of handles that, the multiple applications. What if we have 2 businesses specifically, maybe 3 now with the food truck, that have been there for multiple years? What if somebody comes in and outbids them? It's too bad.
Unfortunately, it is what it is at that point. But again, you don't have to exclusively look at the highest bidder.
Right.
Yeah, we take other things.
I think there's other criteria that you would use, and I think past history, if the person demonstrates they've been there for 4 or 5 years, and we've gotten excellent feedback based on that, that has some merit. I think that you have to work out just some type of a formula that you would. I think I like the fact that we limit it to the 4 things that we've identified. So if we end up with 3, 3, 3, and 2 bidding on those 4 positions, which one is massage thing, one is the shuttle, one is the boards, the paddle boards, and the 4th one is the food truck. So that's, we're not, I don't want to say I'm not. Hopefully we're not looking to put 6, 7, and 8 businesses down on this beach. That's not it. And the other criticism we've had to a certain extent from the public has been, are you charging enough? So now you make it a little bit more competitive in terms of people going out there saying, we went from 150 to 250 or something like that for the season. That's still a pretty, you can make that up in a day, in the summer. So are you charging enough? So again, whatever criteria we use, we forget the first come, first serve. You have from March 1st to April 30th to whatever the dates are to apply. We give you a 2-month period of time, put in your application at such a time before later committee. It's based on a point system, and we just weigh it out and then award them. But we're not looking to expand the number of vendors that are down there. I want that perfectly clear with the people.
Right.
And if it does mean bringing in a little extra revenue for the town, I think the town taxpayers would say, yeah, they would welcome that. So, if it is a little bit competitive, that's not the worst thing in the world. But I do think you do have to reward people that have been good in the past, good service. We've gotten great feedback from some of them. So if it was very close, I would have a tendency, and we do that with everything we do. Do you have to go with the low bidder? Not always. There are other criteria sometimes that you have to build into it.
Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you,
I mean,
Tim.
that makes sense to me. Yeah.
BJ,
Well, I was just wondering if there's only one person who wants to offer massage.
you gotta talk
Can't
closer
hear-
to your mic.
Can't hear you, PJ.
Sorry, if there's only one person who wants to offer massage services, do we want to put them, do you have to do an RFP? Or do you know what I'm saying?
No.
It's just, it's not,
No,
there's
no,
no
in other
competition.
words,
If we get more than one.
We'll get the applications like we always do, BJ, but if we get multiple ones for the same thing, then we'll request it.
Got it. Thank you.
I think what I'd like to do is let's put a hard deadline on applications coming in.
Yes,
Because I feel like in the past, they've rolled in and we've accepted them as they've come along. But if we pick
Yeah.
March 31st as the deadline date, then we have until the middle of April to decide. It gives the businesses enough time to ramp up for the summer season. But that way we're evaluating and looking at them all at once.
Yeah, I like that idea too, Amber. I didn't mean to say April 30th because that's too late, to ramp up on Memorial Day. So, yeah, I think by the end of March, get your applications in, and that gives us, we should be able to turn that around in a matter of a few days or a week.
And I'm
Businesses-
with BJ, not soliciting, just letting people know the applications are available, but not, specifically solicit for this type of business, this type of business, and this type of business.
Right,
Yeah.
right, correct.
Just do it if we get multiple applications for the same thing, like multiple launch applications or something like that.
So Dottie, we don't usually advertise for this. Maybe we need to say, as Amber said, this is the window to apply by.
We could advertise whatever you want.
And we can put it on the town website too.
Yeah, let's put it on the town website.
Okay.
Are we comfortable with Amber, March 31st?
I think so.
That's
I
a third.
think,
That's a Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking, it's just the end of the month. Just from, past years when we were talking about, food truck needing a decision, in order to ramp up, other businesses. It gives the planning.
That gives people 6 weeks. So that's 6.5 weeks, actually, if we put the word out now. I think that's ample.
Yeah, in Bob's draft of the legislation, he put the town board will, applicants of license must be made by March 1st. And then they'll make the decision March 30th, but it's kind of late to start. So I think we'll,
Yeah.
push that back a month this year. Okay, so we'll get started on that so we can advertise it.
Yeah.
And, because we had one application last November for this year.
Mhm.
And that's like,
They're really.
if it was
planning.
first come, first serve, I mean, the guy's, genius.
You'd start getting them the day after Labor Day.
Right, exactly. Okay. All right, so we'll continue writing that up and take care of that one. Okay, next one is amendments to town permits. We talked about this a little last week, that we're starting to see as we either give special permits or wetlands permits from the town board. The applicants come back, well, we made a little change here, or we did something different there. So I asked Stephen to put together something, and Bob had originally started this one also. So they worked on this together to get it so that, we have a system where, it's not, well, yeah, you applied for this, but you're doing this, so go ahead and do it. So you want to walk us through what we're doing?
Yeah, so
here?
this provides a structure, so it's not haphazard. So again, it's my understanding that the board wanted to tighten up when and when not a formal amendment was required for a requested change in an approved wetland permit or special permit. As you've been seeing more and more of these requests. So I drafted what I feel is a somewhat simple solution. Basically, any change that is not de minimis requires an amendment. Then I defined what is de minimis. So I love the word de minimis. We don't have to use it. We could use a minor change. It's enough.
I can tell you, I think.
But de minimis comes from the Latin phrase de minimis non curat lex, which translates to, I know I butchered that, but translates to the law does not concern itself with trifles. Today, the term is used across a variety of contexts to describe matters that are too small or trivial to be deemed worthy of consideration by a regulating authority. So again, as far as wetlands, we were going to amend, and this is just very draft thought. Section 129.4H would be amended as follows. Any deviation from the survey/site plan or construction plans approved in connection with a duly issued wetlands permit. So when you issue your wetlands permits, they get a stamped copy of the survey approved, stamped copy of plans, whatever. And that's really what people use to show what they can and cannot do on that property. It's not really the plain vanilla permit. It's that stuff. And that's what the building department looks at. And that's when they do their inspections, that's what controls. So any deviation from what was stamped would require an amendment, which is basically another full-blown wetlands application, unless a deviation is deemed to be de minimis by the chief building inspector. And then it just keeps the language, the amendment follows the same process as a new wetlands permit. Now, we would add in 129-8, the definition de minimis, any proposed change to an approved survey, site plan, or construction plans that do not, one, increase an encroachment into the regulated area, encroach into the regulated area in a different configuration. So this is, even though the square footage might be the same of the encroachment, if it's done in a different way than what was approved and the chief building inspector thinks that might harm the wetlands, that would trigger a full amendment. Increase water consumption at the subject property. And then I added, in speaking to Reed, I got some other recommendations, and this is one of his, lead to erosion, reduce containment of stormwater, negatively impact native vegetation. And then also you want to make sure that it fully complies with other companion approvals, whether it be a zoning board of approval or whether it's a DEC approval. So you want to make sure that whatever they're proposing doesn't violate those. And then also fully comply with any of the provisions of our zoning chapter 133. And then, obviously fully comply with chapter 129, the wetlands. So this basic process that I'm proposing, we could also use for the special permits. We'll have a similar provision. And then the de minimis is a little different definition in that we'll carry over the increased water consumption at the subject property, fully comply with any other companion approval, and fully comply with any provisions of chapter 133 zoning. So again, it's a easy amendment in the code and just adding a definition. And then we get to control a lot more of what comes in front of the board, but also allows true de minimis changes not to have to go through the whole permit process and also waste the town board's time.
Any questions from the town board?
I
Member?
have one. Yeah, under the de minimis definition in 129-8, could we also add not increase the risk of runoff? Because 129-5A4 speaks to that. And so I could see like somebody not increasing an encroachment or changing the configuration, but doing something else that could increase, make a change that could increase the runoff.
With that, because reduced containment of stormwater.
I was gonna say, that's in number 4.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I changed. Did you get the most recent?
No, I didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I did that this morning.
Okay.
I'll have
Got it.
Christina send it to you, but again, I added 4, which de minimis any proposed change to an approved survey site plan or construction plans that do not, and we added 4, lead to erosion, reduce containment of stormwater, negatively impact native vegetation.
Oh, good. All right. So we're all on the same page then. Good.
Yes.
Stephen?
So we'd have to set up, Bob, go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I just want to ask with regard to the special permit, and I may not be looking at the most recent version here, but did we want to add also that any increase to the SFLA?
Oh, yeah, that should be added.
No, but that's a great idea, Bob.
Okay. Good pickup, Bob. Okay, so now the procedure for this is we'd have to set a hearing?
What is that within chapter 133, the SFLA?
That'll be for the special permit.
Yeah, it's because our special permit is triggered if you go over a 6,000 square foot house, then you trigger a special permit.
Correct.
So
But
then if they do some modification and either were to increase a room that's outside of the wetlands area, like bump the back end of the house out or something like that, then, or let's say take the garage and separate it into 2 separate buildings or something. I don't know how you
Okay, so yeah, I don't know, but if that provision is within chapter 133, right, then number 3 says fully comply with any of the provisions of chapter 133 zoning.
We have to check and see.
But I'll,
Yeah.
I'll look into that, add it if needed.
And again, sometimes what we say and what it says, what we do and what it says are two different things. Bob?
Yeah, I was just sort of thinking, what I was thinking about with that was if we had approved something that would say 6,800 square feet and they're going to increase it to 7, that would clearly be something that we would want.
Right.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so this we have to set a hearing on.
Correct.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
It's good, though. Okay, thank you, Steve. Okay, next on the list is amending the comprehensive plan advisory committee resolution to reflect the current 10 members instead of 12 members. Two people resigned from the committee. The group has been meeting and they feel that the 10 is a good number to stay with. Meg, did you want to-
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. We wanted to stick with the original 10 members because they went through the entire vetting process. They were interviewed, they submitted their resumes, they did the whole thing. And they've been working well together. And I think that, out of respect to them and to reduce any controversy, we want to stick with the original members of the committee. The committee has no problem with that. So instead of, trying to find 2 more members to add to the group, we thought 10 was a good working number. So I just want to amend our resolution creating that group so that it reflects 10 members instead of 12.
And again, this isn't a closed process. We're gonna have the public's input.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're invited to every meeting and we're going to have public specific meetings too to discuss certain topics. But just so that we're all moving forward in the correct manner, I just want to address that legally.
Okay. Any questions on this one, Amber, BJ? Good? Okay. Okay, next on the list, we got a letter from the Taylor's Island Foundation. The Taylor's Island Foundation would like your permission to apply for a grant from the Robert Gardner Foundation for $10,000. We propose to hire a developer to create an online tour of the property using up to 30 location signs fitted with QR code. The audio narration along with the photos and/or videos describing the historical content of the object or view will be assessed when each QR code is scanned. This is basically the same process that the Historical Society recently got a grant from the Gardner Foundation to do. So I guess the protocol is they have to, before they can apply for the grant, what says we have a March 4th deadline to provide proof of the town's permission to apply for this grant. It's kind of a no-brainer, but you have to put it out there.
The only thing is I thought 30 signs. I hope they're nice.
When they say signs, BJ, they're really small little things that you put your phone up and it, automatically goes to your phone and tells you what's going on. And
Great.
Just the little QR codes. They're little
Just
squares.
that, yeah.
Do we know if this is
Scott, did we-
100%?
Go
Sorry,
ahead, I'm sorry.
do we know if this is 100% grant? There's no matching component?
Doesn't say. I mean, it's from the foundation, Amber, so I would think they would want, if there's matching, the foundation would do the matching, not the town.
Okay.
But I'll verify that. I'll make sure of that.
Yeah, because in the on our agenda, there was the question, do we have to vote on this or can we just send them a letter? In our procedures from the grants committee that we had upgraded because of comments from the auditors for internal accounting control procedures and policies, we added that we do need a resolution before someone applies for a grant so that the town board understands what kind of financial commitment we are undertaking by applying for the grant.
Okay, so I'll find out if it's matching or what it is and where the match is going to come from. And we can put it on for Friday night. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. Last thing on the agenda is a new, which
Do you want to
one?
do the assessor's pay so that we can put it on Friday?
Oh, okay.
Discuss that.
I didn't have that.
I
Okay.
have it.
We're going to discuss, we've been talking about changes in the assessor's office and what we need to do. Amber and BJ and Judy came up with a formula of how we're gonna reimburse the two assessors for the work they're currently doing over and above, their job description because they're short one assessor. Do we need to discuss it?
No.
Amber, you want to just give a quick?
Yes, the formula was to take, and then BJ could also speak to this because she was working on it first, was to take the portion of Craig Wood's salary from January through the end of May, subtract out $5,000 cushion for consulting services from Al Hammond to help them get through what needs to be done before May, and then divvy up what's left between Judith and Pat to compensate them for their extra hours. So Judy's done the calculation, the formula looks good. I had sent over to the town clerk's office because we need to do a budget transfer on those lines. So we just need to substitute Judy's calculations from what I had done originally because she got the exact figures.
Mhm.
Okay, and again, BJ brought it up that it's for a very specific period of time.
Yes.
It's not for the whole year.
Right.
The cover for Craig, it's
Right.
to do the reassessment.
Yeah.
Pat?
No,
Uh,
I'm good.
Okay, so listen, so the other thing we're gonna have to talk about here, and I guess we should make it an agenda item, a standalone, is what are we gonna do with the assessor's office? Are we gonna, continue with the elected positions? Are we gonna look to make an appointment? We need to make a decision what we want to do going forward.
We'll have that discussion. I'm hoping in detail next week. It's on the agenda
Okay.
already on our in-house working copy.
Okay, very
Okay.
good. All right. So here's another one, Dottie. I guess we'll have a resolution ready for you with the pay increase for Friday for the two assessors.
Yes, I will. Just somebody send me the information.
Yep.
I looped you in on the last email that was going back and forth
Okay.
with it, so you can just embed it in it. It has
Use
my
yours.
original.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna, well, no, don't use mine. Use Judy's figures.
Okay.
But I have the format down in the bottom where it was my, for my section, the budget,
Okay,
where the budget
thank you.
transfer accounts are.
Very good.
Thanks, Amber.
Jerry, while we're on that subject, Recreation Committee or Commission, could we officially move from 7 to 5 members? And the reason being is that we do have 2 members of the town that attend every meeting. So Bethany is always there and I'm always there. So, I mean, between the 8 of us, we feel very comfortable that we have a good working group of people. So we would love to officially move the Recreation Committee from 7 people to 5 people in order to move forward.
Okay. Anybody have a problem with that?
No.
Okay, we'll add that to Friday also.
Okay.
Okay, so next thing we're gonna go over before we go around the table is, this was something Christina brought up, which is good. Preparation for town board meetings. So let's go over what we have, what Dottie has for us for Friday night and see if we need to add anything or change anything. We have adopt rules and procedures for public meetings. We have appoint building inspector, Michael DeSanctis. We have building department clerk and ZBA clerk to appoint. We have a green options committee member to appoint. We
Well,
have.
can we talk about that one?
Which one?
The green options?
Yes.
Sure.
Because when that was established, they never set the number of people to be on that committee. So they only appointed 6. So now, do you want to increase it to 7? Or what are you doing with that?
I think, was it originally 7 and then we lost somebody?
No. They only appointed 6. So it's been
Okay.
6 ever, all this time. So
All
I
right,
don't
so
know
let's do that.
where,
We'll increase it to 7 members and then make the appointment.
increase it. Okay.
Yes, please. Okay. Then we have the
No. What?
no, but we'll establish a
We'll
number now.
establish.
Microphone, please.
Thanks, Amber.
No, I'm just thinking that it's better not to change that because then we have a set number. And if there's not enough members and we decide to go back to 5 or whatever, we have to get a new resolution. We did this before that we decided not to include the number. So we are flexible with the numbers of members.
No, I would.
That makes sense.
I mean,
Yeah,
whatever.
I like that. Yeah, I like that, Christina.
Do we need to put it in a resolution?
No,
So
just
what's the-
appointing the member. You looked at that resolution, that it just didn't say the amount of the members? The Green Committee?
No, it did not. That's what I said.
So it
But
just,
I have 6 people
So I
on that
appointed-
committee, and they never
Right.
decided how many should be on there. So you have to decide, we can change
But that's
that
up to the board.
resolution. Well, excuse me.
Okay. So
I'd
do
be
we want
happy
to
to
make
leave
it
it
hard?
open.
Leave it open or make it a hard 7? Those are the choices.
I would leave it up to the liaison and the committee chair to decide what they feel comfortable with as a recommendation.
All right, I'll ask Tim.
All right, I'll get back to you on this one, Dottie.
Okay,
Okay, thank you. Okay, then we have the assessor's pay we just discussed. We'll have that for resolution. Happy Groundhog amended resolution. I'm not sure where we stand on that.
Gee,
Just the
I thought we had-
cottages. Just the
Yeah, I
We're
thought
cottages.
just
we-
amend-
Right. Yes.
Go, Amber.
I was going to say, I have, Dottie, do you have the wording on that or do you need it? Because I was working on something a few weeks ago. But I just don't know if we ever wrap that
yeah,
up.
I'm not really sure what you want on that yet, you know?
Okay. I'll pull my notes on that.
So if you could review what you want, make sure that's what you want and send it to me.
Mhm.
Do we need to
Okay.
discuss it?
I thought we
Okay,
already
do it.
had, it was,
I thought
we were
did
going
too.
to, yeah, we were going to pull the one grant because the WQI had approved one grant and recommended not approving the second one. We originally, as a board, approved both grants, but then upon further review recently, realized that we did, that we concurred with what the WQI recommendation was. And the applicant also pulled the request for the second rebate.
Okay, so just for the record, the agreement between the applicant and the town was the second grant was based on the fact that he would do one of his units would be a HUD rental for 5 years. So the applicant said he'll hold that for 1 year, but after that, it's going to go to the same rental prices as the other ones. So we all understand that, okay? Okay. Then the next one is as we just mentioned, the CPF amended resolution
Yes.
from 12 to 10.
No.
Anything else? Dottie, you have anything else?
Oh, I have a lot of
Pending
stuff. Yeah. We
Yeah.
got a lot of late appointments that people don't come in and sign their oaths of office in time. So we have to do
Okay.
new resolutions on those and set hearings on waterways and act on hopefully some of these waterways things that are up for hearing this time. We have quite a few of those hearings this week.
We should
Uh,
probably, Dottie, we should probably make a list of all the people with the oaths and give them to the liaisons and at the next meeting, make sure that the people that
Well,
are on the committee.
we try everything to get people to come in here. We call them, we email them, we call, like, if it's in the police department, we call the chief, whoever is the chairman of the group. We try everything and they just don't show. We had some this
Right.
week that showed up. Of course, they're late, but we can't let them sign till we have the right resolution now,
Right.
But people travel and then they want to come in after that and do it, but it's too
Yeah.
late. So
Okay.
I'd like to do away with that category,
I know,
but there's no way you can do that. Yeah,
right, legally. Right.
that's according to state law.
Yep. Okay. Anybody else have anything for Friday night?
Just the rec committee that you.
I have that,
Okay.
yep. Mhm.
Yeah,
5 members, yeah.
okay.
As supervisor, just the ceremonial swearing of Taylor Rando and Anthony Rando.
What you reminded, yeah.
Okay,
And if that can be at the start, it would be appreciated.
Yep.
So that's for the new officer and the sergeant?
Right.
Yes.
Yep. Got it. Glad you reminded
Okay.
me.
And then do we also want to approve the parking at the Historical Society?
Yes.
Taylor's Island?
And Taylor's Island, yep. Walking Taylor's.
Maybe you could send me information on that
Yeah, I'll
Taylor's
send you
Island
all that
grant.
stuff, Dottie. Yep.
Sure.
Okay,
All right.
good.
Yes.
Okay, we'll go around the table. Jim?
Recreation Committee we took care of. Just to comment on Helen's service. Super turnout for Helen at the wake and at the ceremony that they had on Saturday at Our Lady of the Isle. Just a nice tribute. I want to thank Patty and Mary Faith for putting out some really nice words along with family members. But it couldn't have been nicer. I walked out of there just reflecting on Helen's life and how much she really loved this island. And it was a nice tribute to her. I'm sure she was looking down very, very, very pleased with that. Last night we met as a CAC. We did not have a quorum, so we didn't have an official meeting. We got some things done. We had a new member, that Roxanne, that showed up and contributed throughout the meeting. Dan Clark wasn't quite sure. We have one member that wasn't in attendance that has had an attendance issue that we need to work on. And I think we need to call the question. I did this 3 months ago, but it's time for a new phone call because we can't operate this way, with just 3 people showing up out of 7. So I think Dan will be there all the time. I think Roxanne will be a nice fit. I think both these young people will really bring a lot to the committee. We did talk about building a 3-month agenda. We always have the wetlands applications, but I'm looking at updating and reviewing town code as of the things that they're interested in, new initiatives that we're having, visits of town properties that fall under our jurisdiction that we can look at, and the better utilization of the new town members. Like, Roxanne brings that educational piece and writing piece to the committee, which we really have never had. And I think we can grow off that. I think Dan Clark brings a whole nother set of expertise to the committee. So I'm thinking that would be excellent. We have a March date, March 14th. We didn't really have too much on the agenda in terms of looking at properties. We did talk a little bit. We had Matt Sherman who attended the meeting. We did talk about the Sapin staircase and the heights going down to the beach. Matt has submitted drawings, went over those drawings for us. They look very, very good. There'll be a hearing on Friday with approval, of the project. The project will take about 2 weeks to complete. I did mention, because I visited there along with some other members of the committee, that some boulders at the base of around those staircases would help hold that the cliff intact.
Jim?
The way they did it now, they put concrete at the base of the uprights, the 4x4s, and they literally just lift right up out of the ground. So they really need to go deeper and they need to be anchored better. But I think the new construction, I think Matt went through that with the committee. They were very satisfied with what they saw there.
Jim,
yes.
I'm sorry, before you move on, I want to ask about the Saipan. What did the committee and you discuss about the necessity of that shed in the regulated area?
That, to be honest with you, it didn't come up last night. It's come up before, but it did not come up last night.
We didn't have a quorum. So
We didn't have a quorum, so we didn't vote
I
on
know.
anything. But, that's,
So
the pipe,
should
I
we
think, is
have-
being eliminated. There was a pipe that came out that was going to be eliminated, then that's been taken care of. But again, did not have a quorum. The other thing that we looked at was the new the One Cora property down at Oak Tree Lane. So Matt went over that with us. We spent quite a bit of time on that, actually, that the house is being completely removed. All the buildings on the property are being completely removed at 3 Oak Tree Lane. The old septic is being taken out. He introduced a new landscaping design. Currently, there's about over 30,000 square feet of lawn. That's going to be reduced to 11,000 square feet. And the other 19, really a little over 20,000 square feet is going to be proposed new native vegetation along the wall right behind the bulkhead. It's actually designed very, very nicely. The house is moving closer to the road, so that it's an odd-shaped property. If anybody's ever gone out to Shell Beach, it's a long, narrow property, but the house itself will be built. There was some concern expressed last night about the water table. The water table there is only down about 6.5 feet. So the basement that they're putting in the house is going to be above that. So a lot of the basement will be showing on that new structure. But they talked about the new, Matt went over the very preliminary, went over that. But the landscaping design, look, the best I've seen in my years of working with the CAC. It was a very extensive vegetative plan there. So that was the end of that. This morning, I had a meeting with the Peconic Estuary Partnership. We talked specifically about our projects that will, my new role with them, but I won't bore you with that. Local government committee. I'm going to become the chairman of that committee for the 5 East End towns. We'll be meeting 4 times a year, every 3 months. We have a meeting set for April 6th from 10 to 12. Site of that will be determined. We were encouraged to get a hold of Senator Schumer and Mark Woolley again about what, getting going on a few projects, one of which, of course, is Real Point. I did visit Real Point this weekend with my grandchildren. I would say that in 4 weeks, or maybe it's been 5 weeks now, probably just 4 weeks, since the Suffolk County Public Works Department has left that strip, about 30% of the sand is back in the water. I mean, 2 storms have really done a job on that. I was amazed. I sent the board, I've sent you some pictures of that, but particularly at the north end, that was about 75 feet wide, is now about 40 feet wide. They lost about 35 feet from the north end. And there's quite a bit of sand loss. So something's got to be done there. And we've got to somehow get Schumer, his role in the Senate is key, is to find out where that bill is, when it's going to be signed, and put a little, because the Army Corps wants to get that study done. Sooner they get the study done, the sooner we can get involved with, solving that, dealing with that issue more effectively. We did talk a little bit about the municipal wastewater program here, and Meg happened to be in the room, explained some of the things that we were talking about. She talked about going to the DEC Division of Water for grant applications. She said there's plenty of money there. If you need help securing that money, she's going to help and assist. So I'm hoping that with my new role in that PAP, BEP, that we get that done. We also talked about the municipal wastewater treatment program. She's very involved in that. Made me aware of a couple of places we might look for additional funding to get that second feasibility study done up there. So it was a fruitful meeting. Only lasted about an hour, but I will be in touch with and working very closely with Joyce in the future. She did bring out 2 of her assistants. She plans on coming back to the island. She also offered to do anything that we need in terms of explaining a shallow drain field. They do that all the time. So people want to see what that looks like. Any way in which they can help serve us better, they're willing to come out to the island and partake in that. So it was a good meeting. Hopefully we'll have some good things to report on in the near future.
Jim, we should probably invite them to a meeting.
Yeah.
Just to make, we're always talking about the PEP, but, people don't really know, what they do, what they're involved in.
Yeah, I think that the 2 things, she sent me the download, which I kind of will share with you in the board. The thing on the oyster farming.
Yep.
Which is very interesting. But what I would really like her to come in and like, if we gave her about a 45-minute kind of thing, split it in half. And the first thing would be all the projects that the PEP has done in the past for the 5 East End towns, including Shelter Island, to show you that the work that they're doing. And now with them aligning with Stony Brook University, it's going to get nothing but better. Also, their funding is increased dramatically with a lot of stimulus money. So there's money available and she's eager to help. She has a special liking for Shelter Island. So I'm hoping that we can entertain them one time at the Manor House for maybe a morning meeting. And maybe that put that on a Tuesday and then come over here and make a presentation to the town board on any subject that you would like. So they're prepared to come in.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be really good.
And they would make a presentation.
Okay.
The other thing is they're trying to establish the goals for the 5 East End towns.
Mhm.
So that's my job. Whether we can agree on maybe 2 or 3 priorities for the 5 East End towns. And we did talk about some of those possibilities, common issues like hardening of the shorelines, spraying, IA legislation. We've never shared what the 5 East End towns are doing. Also looked at about town code, how town codes are changing to meet with the challenging things of environmental issues and prioritizing that list. So hopefully, be able to keep you updated on that as we move forward.
Okay, thank you. Meg?
Planning board met. Wasn't a very long meeting, but they, I believe, sent us their recommendations for the meeting on Friday. So did zoning board, and then that was it. Comprehensive plan. We're getting a lot of good feedback from our CPAC members on our vision statement and the outline. So on the 28th, that'll be our next meeting. We'll be going over that and kind of picking the next steps. And that's all I have at the moment.
Okay. Amber?
Yes, a couple of things. I was just realizing for Friday, Jerry, you and I had met with Brian. We talked about the funding for the new truck and the fact that it's going to be over 4 years. It fits into what we've been pulling out of the equipment reserve fund, but because we are pulling from the equipment reserve fund, we have to do a permissive referendum. So I believe, Dottie, that Brian has gotten you that wording. If not, I can follow up with him. It looks like that was a yes, but we need to just put that out there so we have the 30-day period can start, and then he can put the order in for that truck. It's going to take until I think August before he'll get anything, so he wants to start as early as possible. So that was one thing. Also, for Friday, we'll need authorization. The IT, a subset of the IT committee has been working on a new contract with East End Computers. And so we had been working on roles and responsibilities because we had hired Kevin last year. We left East End Computers in place as they were through the end of the year, but then we downgraded their role a little bit. So we've been going through what we need, what they can provide, and we've reworked a contract. So that Kevin just sent that over to us today. So I'd like to put that on for Friday, that Jerry has authorization to sign that contract. We were pretty close. We guesstimated at budget time what we thought we would, their needs, our needs would be with them. And we're within a couple $1,000s, and we can rework other lines within the IT budget to make it all happen.
Okay.
And lastly, Zoning Board of Appeals met on Wednesday, and they're going to be sending the town board a letter when we changed the 30-day notice requirement. I think it was a year or so ago, 30-day notice to neighbors. The wording was only for variances, but it really should be any action before the ZBA requires 30-day notice to neighbors. So they're going to request that we just tweak the code to make that one small change. And that's everything I have.
Okay. BJ, thank you. BJ?
Yeah, last week, Meg and I walked around Sylvester Manor. It was a great day. A little mucky, but it was nice just to talk with Steve and Sarah about what's going on, what they want to go on, plans for the manor house, for the manor house, the big house, that sort of thing. And it was just nice to get that tour and also to get a lot of reading material to go through and see what their hopes and dreams are. And that's about it.
BJ, do they have any major plans for the Manor House? Are they in the midst of any type of major fundraiser to dress up the Manor House?
No, I mean, not that I know of. I mean, I think the capital fundraising plan maybe this year, it's significant because they want to do it right. They want to, according to good preservation standards, and that's going to be expensive. So, and that being said, it needs attention. It needs attention. So I think it'll be, I'm guessing this year, all hands on deck to get that really rolling.
Yeah, that is going to be an expensive project. I would say multi-million-dollar project to do it right.
Yep.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, it's past due. It needs work.
Yeah. But oh, don't you love that wavy glass?
Oh.
When you're in the house, it just reeks of, it's beautiful.
I wanted to thank whoever set up the GIS training yesterday. The potential for that GIS is, man, we could save a lot of time and energy with that GIS training. Thought it was very good. I want to compliment the gentleman that put that on. I thought he did a nice job addressing all the questions and making himself available for future training sessions. But I think it has a lot of potential. I could see it with the CAC when we sit down, and you take that 75 foot, you can move it all around. Meg asked some great questions, and it is a great tool though. Once we perfect it, I think that's going to be a real time saver and an exact science, so to speak. Where things should go.
And just to follow up on that, on the software note, the new building/code enforcement officer is digging deep into the short-term rental software that we have. I think there's another one with a lot of potential that we never really took advantage of.
Yeah.
So we're going to, Michael's familiarizing himself with that, and we'll use it to its greatest advantage. Okay.
I apologize for the beach access this morning. I had a conflict with people here from the PEP, but they did meet this morning. I will get down and get their notes and give us some type of an overview next Tuesday at the work session on their meeting this morning. I couldn't be in two places at once.
Okay. Dottie, anything else we need to know for Friday, or just what we have to get for you?
No, I don't think so. If I need something, I'll request it.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Stephen, anything else on your end? We good? Bob, anything we're missing that you can think of?
No, I think we're good, Jay.
Okay. All right, we'll go around the room. I'll start from what I see on the table. Levon Kellner.
Yes, hi. I apologize. I don't know why my video is not showing. The host stopped me from video.
That's right. We can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you. I wanted to address the issue of the Indian wedding. I'm super psyched for that. It's going to be really interesting. But I'm one of the things I'm wondering is if there's 60 people there, let's say there's 30 cars for the attendees, let's minus 10 since he said some would be staying overnight. What about the setup people, the additional setup people and the trucks that will be needed, to bring in the horse and this, that, and the other thing? I mean, I know there's limited parking up there, so I'm a little interested in how they're going to solve that problem. And I'm also concerned about not so much passage, people being able to pass, let's respect everybody on the island and give them the shot. What I'm really concerned about is, what are we going to do with EMS? I mean, what happens if something happens, on the parade route? if it's a joyous celebration and there's older people and somebody stumbles or, and just EMS getting back and forth. So I hope that we really think about that. Somebody suggested maybe they walk on the beach, and I thought that was a fantastic idea that could solve the problems. But keeping that one lane clean for sure is necessary, obviously, for health and medical for everybody. And I was wondering, could they do, with some kind of ribbons? So it's in keeping with the theme of whatever the Indian wedding is. I mean, I don't know, but just make sure that there's a way to control people that's visually as beautiful as their ceremony will be, and how we just work together to give everybody the best experience. So that's, again, my concern is how are we going to get people in and out with medical issues, being that we've got 60 people and they're going to be outside and there's, rocks on the road and stuff like that. What are we going to do? And the healthcare for people on the island, and then how to make it as glorious as possible with keeping crowd control. And so there's 3 things. And then the 4th thing is the parking for the additional trucks, like the horse carriage, any other food that needs to be brought in, any of that, because there's going to be a lot of parking with general guests. So those are my issues. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, I think one of the, having the police and having Jim Reed involved in this, Jim's pretty good at handling these kinds of situations. Having 2 police officers down there, perhaps, that's why he brought that up. I'm pretty confident about the EMS being able to, obviously the number 1 priority is always safety and people's health. So God forbid there should be a medical emergency during that hour and a half. It would require EMS response. Police department will handle that extremely well, as they do all the time. In terms of the staging areas, that's why I said there are 2 areas down there on the west side of that strip, pull-off areas that can be used as staging areas. But I think we just need a little time to work those kinks out. But I appreciate your comments, because I think that you brought up 3 or 4 very legitimate concerns that we will definitely want to take a look at. Thank you.
Yeah.
John, did you want to?
My family has only been here since 1954. And so I don't know if anybody remembers Dr. Aaron Kellner and Zyra DeFries, his wife, the doctor. And I asked, the family members, if anyone remembers where we had a private event, for money event, that closed portions of the island. And we weren't able to come up with any, but I think that's just a precedence that we have to watch out for. If there's a for-profit event, it seems to me like beyond just covering costs for the police chief, maybe there's some sort of courtesy price that is given to shelter in case there is a situation where they've got to use EMS or something, or pull on our resources. I would just like to see some consideration given to that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rajan, did you want to speak then? I see your hands up.
Yeah, I can. No, but I think, first of all, like, very thoughtful points, and I appreciate you being able to lay that out. I think Jim addressed many of these with respect to the EMS, as well as, means the police being able to control. I think the concern about the staging area and having other, let's say, truck or anything else, if at all, that will be just for a drop-off purposes, but they will not be kind of like waiting there and standing there till this procession is over. Now, most of the ceremony and activities are at a Ram's Head Island, and of course there will be other guests and the bride's side over there, and they will have the parking and the place for the parking over there. So that's where the things will be parked, but definitely not on the side of the causeway. Certainly don't expect that to be the case. And there is really not much of a setup required. There's not a food at that place. It's just basically gathering of the party and a horse and probably 1 or maybe 2 vehicles, like with some music and anything else. that's pretty much it. And they're walking at probably less than 5 miles an hour speed because they just have to cover that much area. So that was that's what we expect to be the least disruptive with respect to these other things that you had mentioned. What else was there? So I think that was the main thing. I understand that this is a first of a kind request. But like it's something, consider it as a cultural, consider it as inclusive, part of being the community.
Sure, no, I'm absolutely excited and wish you well. I just really want to think through the details, like those extra vehicles, and if there's any guests at the hotel beside you, because it gets really crazy in the summer to get parking up there. So, that's, I think, just something that, maybe the town needs to consider a number of your guests getting numbers so that they get priority parking, or some way of controlling the numbers. Because I do think, just on a normal Saturday, there's a lot of people that drive around and they see an empty spot and they take it and then they go for a walk somewhere, So I think for your convenience too, you ought to think about that. If there's a way that you could have space ticketing parked, so your guests, when you're paying the fee, you get what you need.
Yeah.
Well, I think, I think also that it's Friday morning is great. That takes a lot of the weight and a lot of the competition for space away. The other thing is we do, as a town, I know that we asked for a permit to have my son's night before the wedding party at Wade's Beach. And so it's not a street, but it is a public place. And there was no payment asked for except a deposit to make sure we did the right thing and cleaned up. I think that's kind of nice and neighborly.
But you didn't make a profit off of that. And the inn will be making a profit off of this, I assume.
All right. I think we
just have
need
one question also. Like, I think that a couple of times it has been mentioned that there is a beach that instead of walking on the causeway, you can walk on the beach. I'm not familiar with the area. Only beach I'm aware of is that the private beach that Ram's Head has. Is there an alternate?
You couldn't walk. There's no beach to walk on. You couldn't walk the whole distance on the parallel to the airport. Right. That's true. Yeah.
Can we address the gentleman?
I'm sorry.
You guys have-
Yes, sir. Yeah, you have to just come up and identify yourself, please.
Could you let people know speak, because she tried to speak early.
Yeah, I'm addressing. I'm going in order.
Yeah, so I'll speak up.
Can't hear.
Okay, Kim Nolan.
Hi. Can you hear me? I don't know if you can see me.
Yes.
I really want to thank the town for their concern about their residents, because I think everything that's happened here today is indicating how seriously they take their stewardship job, and I do appreciate it. However, I agree with the speaker who said that this is just a pretty unprecedented request happening, which these public assemblies, if you look at the statute, are something that is usually done on the person's private property, and especially in the case of a for-profit event. And I think that's really the distinction here. And I think that's why Councilman Colligan, when he was speaking about this in the main meeting, referred to it as absolutely unprecedented. It is absolutely unprecedented. And I think that, when you do that, you have to consider the impact. And so I just started looking at the public assembly law when he said that. And this situation actually is one that the public assembly law is really meant to control. I mean, in the sense that the applicant seeks to do exactly what the statute strongly discourages during this particular time of the year. And when you end up basically adversely impacting or affecting, and now I'm reading from the law about, excuse me, I'm having a little laryngitis this morning, something that impacts hundreds of families with the potential to interfere with their normal use of the highways. Again, reading from the statute, it's something that should be looked at carefully again before making the decision. And also, I want to agree with the other speaker that a lot of the details still haven't been worked out. The statute requires the applicant to notify the town of exactly who the neighbors are that are going to be affected and how they're going to be affected, and to put in, I know they made a little diagram, but it basically just shows a line that goes from the end of Little Ram to the end. Whereas I think the other speaker also indicated that there'd have to be a way to make sure that, because the procession naturally spreads out over the road. I mean, you just can't keep that from happening, especially when there's a horse involved, unless there's something that keeps that procession on the road. And I think there's other details that have not been really explained. And I know that some of the things are really probably going to, I mean, they could be delightful, but it does say some kind of amplified sound and music without delineating what that will be and what traditional drums and that sort of things will be present. And, you know, there are noise ordinances and those would have to be complied with. So I think you need to examine carefully how the applicant is going to comply with the town's noise ordinance. So, you know, I would just ask that everybody go back and look at what the request is versus what is really contemplated by the town's law on this. Because to me, this just sets up exactly all the concerns that this law addresses. It overtaxes police and EMS at the high season. It creates traffic, parking, noise. And even if it doesn't create refuse problems, you just really, I don't know that you can really predict what's going to happen with the kind of vehicle and pedestrian congestion that is going to happen as a natural event here. I mean, you know, one council person referred to an early Friday morning as not being a problem. Well, I'm a resident there, and early Friday mornings are extremely busy, actually, especially the week before Labor Day. And that's why the statute says that the town must consider that this is happening during the period of time that even the application itself says is a discouraged time. I mean, I agree, if you moved it a few weeks outside the high, you know, the very highest season, that it might not be a problem. But
Okay, Kim, I'm gonna
Okay.
cut you off. I think we know where you're coming from. Thank you for your input.
Okay, I just want to say that I speak for several other residents that couldn't be here today.
Thank you, Kim.
Yeah, so my name is Jan Sudo. I'm a resident of the Rams. I just want to pick up on one aspect that the first speaker on a TV already spoke, which is that this is a private event for and the other beneficiary is the establishment, commercial establishment, which organizes the wedding. I don't really see a public benefit from inconveniencing the public and from possibly blocking the traffic, okay? So the people who will be having wedding here are not residents, whereas this is gonna inconvenience residents. And I spoke to a number of them, but I'm speaking in my own name right now because they're not here. And, we just don't want to create precedent, because this would be unprecedented permit for the future events. Because once we create this precedent, what's going to stop Ramshead Inn from offering something like this to other weddings, motorcycle events, who knows what. And also this will impact other areas of the island, where other commercial establishments will be requesting to close the traffic for some private event, okay? So I have nothing against this wedding or any other wedding or on any other event, but I don't think it's justifiable to create this precedent that other vendors will be then referring to and saying, well, I want to close that street too. So.
Thank you. Pam?
Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, I too want to discuss this application. Yeah, the noise is a concern to me because if you've ever seen one of these events, the number of drummers they have are extremely loud and it's a persistent pounding. And, I know it's a cultural event and I understand that, but just the same, it's a very loud event. And there is question in the application whether or not there's going to be a DJ using the outdoor portable speaker system. That hasn't been decided. They say that that's going to be decided later. I think that's important to note. And it also does set a precedence. And I agree with Jan that should the Ramshead Inn be given this permit, they will try to do the same thing again and again and again. And we have had conversations with the town board about how we don't want to see the Ramshead Inn changing their use or how they've been operating for the past 40 years. And this is certainly going to increase the possibility of extension of that use, which is very important. And this is also the weekend that's normally the art fair and the craft fair and the Greens Committee fair. So there are going to be a lot of people out on Shelter Island. And I too see the traffic coming across the causeway every day. And I know how busy it can be. And I will confer that I realize it's 9 o'clock in the morning, but for those of us on the Rams, that's when we go out and take care of the things we need to do so that we can hunker down back on Big Ram again and not be have all the other people in the way. So it is a very busy morning for us out there. It just is. So I find that rather disconcerting. And I do ask you to look at the town code again and why it's written the way it is to keep these events from happening during the summer months. And the other thing I'm concerned about, if you can just clarify with the amendments to the wetlands permits and the special permits, is this going to be drafted and the document will be for viewing before the next town board work session or something, so we can see what exactly the town attorney has come up with for the changes for those?
Yes, this is the initial discussion about the proposed amendment. If the town board wants to go forward, they'll set a notice, they'll pass a resolution setting a public hearing notice, and then there'll be a public hearing on it.
It's on the website.
It's on the website too.
Okay.
Is it posted today? I'm sorry, I just didn't notice it was posted today.
Yes.
Okay. My error.
Yeah,
All right, thanks very much.
Christina, confirm that, Pam.
Rajan, I see your hands up. I don't know that we need to keep going back and forth. I think, anybody else want to speak? Hold on, Rajan. Let me just see if anybody else wants to. I have Monstrom there. I don't know. I see, is that Kim or is that?
Yeah, Kim Bonstrom. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, the one thing I haven't heard the town discuss is the criteria of the public assembly statute. No discussion about the criteria at all. And that said, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think we've heard everything we need to hear on this. I'm gonna bite my tongue and hold my comments. Okay. Rajan, I don't know if you want to finish up. I think we pretty much know what we're going to do with this. So I don't know that we need to keep going back and forth.
Yeah, so I just had, I just wanted to get some clarity. First of all, let me apologize because my internet started to behave and I lost a bit of the commentary, but I think I got mostly the gist around the sound ordinance, public assembly and all that things, right? So wanted to ask, like, okay, so what is the next step in here, and what are, if there is an additional information required from Ram's Head side of it, what is that? And you know, means I fully understand the Shelter Island residents' concerns, and thank you for being honest and genuine. But you know, again, this, as I said, like, it's like, consider it as a cultural thing and being inclusive in the community. And this is something which is very broadly accepted across all towns and countries in US. I mean, as the Indian population has grown, it might not have happened in a shelter island, but I recognize this is the first time, but I would request that that should be taken into.
I think that will be taken into consideration in the, we'll have the town attorney to write up the stipulations that we've heard today and the concerns, and next week we'll make a decision at the town board work session. Yay or nay.
Okay, anything else needed from our side? Or
No, I think you gave us all the information we need to have. I appreciate that.
But if there's additional information, I guarantee we'll contact you. We have your contact information here, so especially Chief Reed, if he has some concerns and points of clarification, he'll call you. Thank you.
Just last thing, my wife wanted to say something. She just joined.
We really appreciate you listening to us and giving us a chance to put our thoughts. My daughter had me and my daughter, our family would love to have this vision. She had a vision to have the Indian wedding on this island. So we understand that it has its rules. We have to follow our rules. And we know that this would be a first time that this island would have this Indian wedding on this island. And I understand the noise, but I thought that as long as we follow the rules and keep the noise and that within that, following the rules, and as long as we do that, I feel that it being the part of being a citizen, and we should be, it's just being inclusive. Whatever rules we have to follow, whatever we are ready to do that. Whatever we have to give, all that, we are ready to do all this due diligence and all that. We are ready to put forward all that in writing, giving all that writing.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Tom Roush? Oh, I think you just made a noise. Okay. Kim, last time. Kim.
Yes, I just would like to maybe ask the applicant if they would consider an alternate route that didn't require really the significant road closure and did start in a lovely, wonderful beach spot and end also at the Ram's Head Inn where you'd be having the ceremony, because there is another alternative route that would be far less disruptive to the neighborhood as a whole and wouldn't require all these traffic and EMS and you know, additional service problems, and would give you a lot more freedom as well. So I have an alternative route if anybody would like to discuss it, but I'll be quiet for now.
Yeah, no, thank you. Is it Kim? Yeah, no, we will be open. We will be open. Yeah, we will be open.
Okay.
To, there is an alternate route which is there.
Great.
Why don't you guys talk about that off camera?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Right.
How do
Anybody
we
else?
teach, how do we contact each other off camera?
No, why don't?
I don't know. That's not my concern, quite honestly.
Through the
Could
Rams
you
head
please
in.
take
Just
down my
contact the
phone
Rams.
number?
We're getting out of control here again.
Yeah, through the
We have
Rams
a
head in.
procedure we're trying to stick to. You need to be identified to speak. And if you guys want to discuss alternate plans, feel free to do so, but do it on your time. Anybody else have anything else? John Catula, did you? You can come up now. We're done with that.
Yeah.
Commercial fisherman, resident of Shelter Island. At your last work session, you discussed the trying to define residency as it pertained to mooring permit applications. And first, I'd just like you to look at the outer rim of our town seal. What do you see there?
It's not possible to hear this person speaking.
Give the microphone. You just,
Okay.
thank you.
Julia.
Look at the outer rim of our town seal. What do you see? You see shellfish. In your discussion of the depth, trying to come up with a definition of residency. What is residency? Did you give any consideration and thought to how it would pertain and affect other uses of town bottom, like shellfishing?
I think, John, we questioned and we're still waiting to get numbers on how many moorings are there? Where are they all? Is there a need for more moorings? So we're very aware of, how much space the moorings take up not only from the shellfish, but from recreation and everything else.
Right, that's a different discussion. What I'm getting at is
Accessibility, John? Getting to the spots you want to get to?
that's in the mooring discussion.
Okay.
No, in creating, you haven't come up with what you're going to define as a resident yet, have you? You're still working on that, right?
Correct.
As a bayman and with the other baymen, we've been discussing, we want to be able to tighten up other people coming here to shellfish, and we don't want you to create a loophole by saying something in what is a resident. You see what I'm getting at? I'm not explaining myself.
I understand what you're saying, John. Two things. One is the board feels that if you own property, you're a resident. But more so, Tom Field and I had a discussion a long time ago, and probably it's time to start, is commercial fishermen need to be.
Right, we'd like to have a designation
Yes.
as to separate
Resident.
commercial from non-commercial as it pertains to the shellfish.
But also
program.
residency. Commercial.
And
You
with
need to be a
residency, where you
resident
have
to
to
be a-
prove your residency
Yes.
as a commercial
Yes.
fisherman.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's that. And with the mooring.
John, are you, just out of curiosity, are you seeing more and more people outside from other communities coming into Shelter Island?
We've
What
had problems recently.
Do you specifically have sites where there are problems, or in your professional opinion?
Oh, shellfishing. I know it's.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
is it this oyster farming? Is this becoming an issue that people?
That's a whole different thing.
Okay.
No, recently, somebody in the shellfishing industry, there's people that are kind of like gypsies that wander up and down the coast and just try to jump on something that's good wherever it is. Recently, we did have somebody show up here, claimed he was renting a room from somebody, went next door and got a resident permit, which anybody can get basically, and there he was in Cockles Harbor clamming. Our limit, we have limited resources here, and we have to protect them.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I wanted, the Bay Constable really couldn't do anything to get rid of the guy because he met the requirements.
Yeah, I think it's something, I think that guy you're referring to is the one that basically screwed it up 20 years ago with the steamers also,
Possibly,
you know,
yeah.
with the motor and.
That might have been something different, but
If I
anyway.
may, they're two separate people, Jerry.
Okay.
Yeah, it's two separate.
This is Tom Field. I'm sorry, I'll mute again.
So anyway, I want you to take that into consideration when you're.
Yep.
Don't create a loophole that's gonna screw up
Right.
shellfishing and other uses of the bay bottom. Because it's, public.
John, just stop. That's one of the reasons we're trying so hard to fine tune this residency definition.
Yeah, I
Because there's so
understand. You've
many
been
different-
working on it for a long
Yeah.
time. And the mooring issue, I mean, I guess it was 15 years ago, whenever I was on the Waterways Committee. Back then, there were too many moorings, way too many moorings. And now there's even more. And we should be trying to stop the new moorings and through attrition, even lessen the amount of moorings. Listening to last week's work session, it seemed like you wanted to be accommodating to more, there's more boats all the time. It's a zoo out there in the summertime. But that does, Shelter Island town is not a marina. You don't have to be accommodating. You gotta set lines and limits. And it's, the amount of moorings is out of hand. Docks, overdevelopment. I mean, I can go on and on and on. But don't be accommodating. We don't need more moorings. We need less moorings. It's terrible. That's basically it.
Okay, thanks, John. And just, I don't know if you saw at the meeting last week, John Needham said the last couple of years, the actual number of moorings have gone down.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, from eight
But-
change to low.
But that's-
732, I think.
Yeah, that's just because people aren't up on renewing their permits. There's a lot of junk out there too.
That's
Which is
something, that's
which is
another whole issue in itself.
A whole nother.
About 100 mooring, maybe more, of just people are not using those moorings, leaving their stuff in the water.
Yeah, people sell a house, the mooring just gets left.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
But okay.
John, the other thing I'd have to do is apologize to you for maybe a year and a half ago when I saw you down at Camden Creek and you were unloading your boat. And you said, Jimmy, when, whatever you said, Miss Colligan, when are you going to start to take care of this bulkhead?
Oh,
And I said,
that's
to
a-
John, it's going to happen this year as Hook and Crook, and then Dawn Lane happened. So
Yeah,
I just want to assure you.
I was a little irked about that. but-
Yeah, I could tell, but I do apologize for that. But at Dawn Lane, I did not know because we were really slated to come in this past year to take care of that. But it is the number one thing on the agenda to take care of next. We promise you to.
Yeah,
get down
Brian's
there.
just waiting for the DEC approval.
Yeah, I see some flags, new surveyor
It
flags.
might be,
down
that's
there.
just the wetland. I don't know.
Something.
Brian said they sent back this
Yeah.
application, so he must be working on it.
I know things.
And,
take-
and hopefully that will be engineered a little bit better. That turnaround, make it a little bit more accommodating for people to get boats in and out of there. The parking situation. So it needs attention. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, hopefully I won't lose my truck in the water.
There you go.
Yeah, there
Thanks,
you go.
John.
All right, thanks.
Tom?
Yeah, hi Jerry and town board, Tom Field here. I just figured I'd piggyback on John. I intended on I've also been trying to catch up on the past meetings of the town board and also the Waterways Committee. So I've been doing that and in the process of the Bayman's Committee or organization, association, as everybody's trying to refer it to, is a big question mark to the town board and probably the general public. I want to just give a brief description of what we are and how we were created. And basically what it is what was it, 3 or 4 terms ago, we were created as an unofficial committee of Bayman. There's one angler that sits with us, and we were created as a advisory to the supervisor to advise him on issues that came up at town hall that concerned us. I just want to put that out there for clarification because it seemed like nobody really knew what was going on there. And I have been the official quote unquote spokesperson for this committee. if anybody needs to contact me, I believe the town board has my email I sent this morning with my contact information on it. Feel free to utilize that. And pretty much that's all I have to say right now. The rest of my stuff, I think I'd like to wait for the Waterways Committee. The one thing I was going to ask is is it possible to join the special committee tomorrow to observe and possibly comment at the end? I don't know what the procedure is for that particular meeting.
Jim, if you, I'll just jump in. I think if they really just want to get through some mooring applications, which sounds disrespectful to what John Catula just said, but that is the agenda for tomorrow, is to get through some of these mooring applications.
But the meetings are open, BJ.
But the meetings are open, and I would think at the end you'd be able to have a few minutes. To have
Okay, yeah, that's great. I don't want to slow down any committees. I know how the wheels of town hall move. They're rather slow, so let's not interrupt. So if we can help it. Okay, I guess
Get to the
that's pretty
point,
much
Tom.
it. Yeah, I just, I see how things roll and it takes forever to get anything done. So the less I say, the better. If I can get to the point and get it done, that's what I'd like to do.
Thanks, John.
But thank you for your time.
Thank you,
Hey, Tom, before you go, one thing I was going to say to you, I'm going to reach out to you now that I have this job for the next couple of years with the Peconic Estuary Partnership.
Yes.
We need to team up together a little bit, because if there's some specific concerns that you have throughout the Peconics, I'd like to sit down with you one day and take them with me to those meetings.
Yeah, that's actually an excellent idea, because we have some legitimate concerns involving, in general, special interest groups and how we think the town should deal with it. But, we'd like to get that on the table and by all means, start a dialogue there.
I think you heard before, the two things I'm optimistic about: Stony Brook University being a local entity now working with the Peconic Estuary Partnership.
Yes,
And
I
the other
heard that
thing is money. There's a lot more money out there to correct some of these problems. So obviously the scallop issue is something that we need to appraise you guys of. The research that's going on there, the findings and the data that they've collected, and to share some ideas about that. But there's, you and I could sit down and we could work together on that, Tom.
Yeah, no, that'd be great, because there's a lot of those issues that correlate with stuff that we've been discussing over the years as well, that, we got to throw some stuff on the table. It'd be a good dialogue.
All right.
All right, Tom. Amber, do you have
All right,
something?
thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Yes, I got an update from Brian Sherman, and the permissive referendum is for a loader, not a truck. He is looking into a truck, but it's the loader. So big piece of equipment. So I got confused. So just
Okay.
wanted to clarify that.
So we'll set that for Friday. Thank you. Okay, Pam?
Hi, I just wanted to mention with the Peconic Estuary Program, they have a new comprehensive plan out that they finally finalized just last year. And I think it would be important if, our comprehensive plan took a look at that, because it's a very extensive document. They put a lot of time and effort into that. And I think it'll be very helpful with our comprehensive plan going forward. And the only other thing I wanted to ask.
Pam, can I just comment on that? That took 3 years to make. A lot went into that comprehensive plan that they developed. I can actually get some highlights of that plan and put it on our website. And I could share it with Meg and with BJ, which I will do. I'll take the entire plan and actually maybe highlight some of those areas that they could look at, that they might want to look about, how they could apply it to our comprehensive plan. That's a good idea.
It's a great
There's
document.
a lot of work.
It has a lot of
It is.
information that I think will be very helpful moving forward. And the only other question I had about the wedding is, do we know how the bride is going to arrive? Because I know traditionally the brides arrive by air. So I'm wondering if there will be seaplanes involved in this event. And I don't know, that wasn't part of the assembly application, but I'm just wondering if you could look into that for me.
Yeah, no, I can answer that. No, so the bride would be staying at Ram's Head Inn. We'll arrive a night before, and they have the accommodation there, and that's where we will be staying. So we will be having a bus that will shuttle our guests a night before to the Ram's Head Inn, and then the shuttle will depart back.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any comments, questions?
I have a question, Jerry, if you're ready for,
Yep, go ahead.
I actually have a couple of questions. Amber, which Judy were you referring to when you kept mentioning Judy during the assessor's
Maringer.
conversation?
I was talking about Judy Maringer.
I thought so. Okay, I just wanted to
Yes,
confirm.
because she handles payroll, and so she
Yeah.
double checks all the calculations.
Thanks very much. The committees, you said Green Options has no set number of committee members. Is there a concern that by not having a set number of committee members, you run into that problem of what's a quorum? Just wondering. And are there other committees that don't have set numbers of committee members? And how do you handle that? That's a question for another day. There were 3 linked LLCs that were due to have permits approved. Are those on the agenda for the next meeting for approval? Do you know, or is that a Dottie question?
For what any idea what kind of permits they were?
It was like the 3 that we didn't, the identity of the person who owns the separate properties was not given. So it was
Those-
6 Daniel
those
Lord
were on
Road,
moorings.
Thriving Sea. It was moorings. I'm sorry, moorings.
They're not on the list for Friday.
They're not on the list. Okay, thanks.
Right.
Okay, and then the last one I had was about what is the status of the reconstituting of the Board of Ethics, and when is that going to be discussed? The WMAC continues to operate with members who are continuing on terms that have not yet been renewed, including one who sort of is under the shadow of an allegation, true or false, that normally would be looked at by an ethics board. And I'm wondering what the status of that investigation is.
We've advertised for the ethics board. We're actually starting interviews today. We have a number of applicants that we got yesterday and today. So we're starting that process, and hopefully we'll have a new ethics board in place fairly soon.
Okay, thank you very much.
Anybody else?
Julie, on it?
Yeah, Julie's on there. Julie, you have anything?
I'm okay. Julia just asked the question I had. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, everybody, I'm gonna make a motion. We go into executive session. We have some interviews to discuss, and also a contract.
That's some legal advice.
Oh, legal advice, right? I got you. Okay, I have a motion.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks,
Aye.
everybody.
Have a very nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you.